Well, hello, hello, hello. I feel like I've been gone for a while, but instead I have not. Last week you saw me on the Black Business Expo, and I had an opportunity to be a keynote speaker there. But this evening we are back to diabetes. I devoted November to diabetes because it is Diabetes Month. I am Maxine Phillips McKoy, your show host for Life Strategies. That's right, because eating and taking care of your health is a part of it should be a part of our life strategies. I know I made that a part of my life strategy back in 2008 when I was first diagnosed as a having type 2 diabetes. One of the things that I shared with you when I first started talking about diabetes was the journey that I had taken. And the fact that when I was diagnosed, how the doctors prescribed what? Medication. That's right, medication. So I want you to go get paper and pen, invite someone, let's sit down and let's talk. Let's just have a chat. Let's chat about what to do when you first diagnosed as having diabetes, and not only that, we have the holidays. It's right here. So, how are we going to manage going through what? Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all these? Hopefully, don't know if you're going to be going to gatherings or not, but in case you do, there's going to be a lot of munchies around. And how do we make the choices that we are going to make? Again, Maxine Phillips McKoy here, talking about diabetes. I am a type 2 diabetic. I have diabetes, but guess what? Diabetes does not have me because I am in control, not it being in control of me. We know there's a type 1, there's type 2, there's pre-diabetes, and there's gestational diabetes. And of course, we know type 1 are the ones who must take insulin. You have the pancreas is no longer producing insulin. And then type 2 is an onset of diabetes, which means the pancreas could produce an insulin, but it might not be producing enough. And onset diabetes can be caused by so many different things. My onset was caused by stress. That's right, stress. And you stress from a lot of different things, being a full-time mother, a full-time wife, a full-time career person, volunteering my time, going to school, all of that onset. And then I was a caretaker of my late husband. And so that stress can bring on diabetes. It can bring on a lot of other illnesses as well, but also an illness can bring on diabetes, the onset. And that's because what if you're so sick that it affected the pancreas? I know my late husband, he had surgery and a part of his pancreas was removed. And so then, of course, he ended up being a really pretty much a type 1 diabetic. So there's so many different ways that you can become a type 2, diabetic. And it's not always about the diet, but it could be about the diet. And we're going to concentrate on our intake of food tonight. Last time I talked about combination of foods. The combinations we talked about a fruit with a vegetable and your carb, or we talked about a protein and a vegetable. But one of the combinations we want to steer away from is a protein and a carb. And that's because it takes the body so long to process that protein that that carb has already been processed in the body and it has gone straight to the bloodstream and converted itself as sugar or glucose. That's another word I'll be using interchangeably is sugar or glucose, but is that glucose level that's in the bloodstream. And I also talked about last time the thickness of the blood. When your blood sugar readings are getting higher and higher, and you want them to be between 120 and no more than 150. But once they start getting into 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 markings, that's when the blood is thick. And I want you to think of it, imagine it being as thick as syrup. That's right. Think of it that way. And that's what's going through your veins, and it's going to the major organs, your heart, your liver, your lungs, and the brain. that thickness of blood going through your body. And, I talked about also the eyes. Yes, you have to make sure that you have eye exams because in the back of the eyes, the retina, they're able to see how diabetes is affecting you. And diabetes can cause blindness. And the teeth. I had my dental appointment today just to keep a checkup on my teeth. Diabetes affects the teeth as well. It affects the gums. That's right. Your gums can become so soft, they can become inflamed. And even if you have healthy teeth, you'll end up losing those teeth because the gums can no longer hold your teeth and they become inflamed with inflammation. And before you know it, you might end up having surgery on your gums. So you have to take good care and go to the dentist to see how your teeth and your gums are doing. I go 3 times a year. I know they recommend two, but I go 3 times a year. And the reason why I go 3 times a year is because when I was in my 30s, I had a severe case of what they call pyorrhea, and that was inflamed gums. And I had to have surgery, and they had to cut back a lot of the skin in the gum area of my teeth. And since then, I'm very cautious and I always go 3 times a year to make sure that I'm keeping them healthy as possible. Because I never will forget when my mother told me that she was 35 and she had to end up having all her teeth pulled because of her gums. Not that her teeth were bad, but the gums were bad. And so that's another thing that you want to think about when you are a diabetic, making sure that you get your eye exams and your dental exams. And we know diabetes can also affect the kidneys, and it could cause, an individual to have to be on dialysis. So you want to make sure that you get those annual exams so that all of those organs are being checked out every year. But now we are at the holidays. And we are going to be challenged with how do we maintain our glucose levels during the holiday. So let's talk about this for a minute. I never will forget when I cooked a Thanksgiving meal and it was all organic. All organic. You're like, Mrs. Maxine, how in the world could that be? Well, it was all organic because I planned the meal. So a strategy is planning. You must plan what you're going to cook. You must plan when you know that you're going to be going to a gathering, what you can and what you want to try and what you're not going to try, what's within your range to keep your glucose levels at a normal rate. And also, you could very well take your meal with you. That's right. You can plan ahead and prepare the meal that you can take and that you know you can eat. I know it may sound a little far fetched. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But when I was first diagnosed, not only as a type 2 diabetic, but also when I knew that I was allergic to preservatives, I had to pack my own meal no matter where I went. I had my food with me. Yes, I put them in little baggies. And if it was something that was frozen, it went in the freezer. And then it went into a little ice compartment that I could carry with me. But I always had something with me, either in my purse or in the car that I would have access to. So that's something to take into consideration during this holiday. If you need to take your meal with you, it's okay to take your meal with you. You can still enjoy it. You can still enjoy it with family and friends and the fellowship. It's just that you're having your meal and then they're having their meal. So that's something to think about. But let's talk about some things that you can, as you're cooking your meal and as you're preparing your meal, as you're preparing some of these phenomenal dishes that I know you're going to be cooking. As a matter of fact, why don't you send me a picture of some of the meals that you prepared? And even a little recipe on how you prepared them. So send it to Maxine at GAMMSunlimited.com and let me Let me take a look at those phenomenal pictures the meals that you're preparing. Okay, so what would be one of the dish that you're going to prepare? Okay, stuffings. Okay, excellent, excellent. I call it dressing. Some people call it stuffing. All right. So how are you going to prepare it? All right, okay, you're going to cook the cornbread. That's one way of preparing it. Because if you cook the cornbread, you know what's in the cornbread. You know the ingredients that you put in the cornbread. I do my own cornbread from scratch. I use organic cornmeal. I use the non-aluminum baking powder. I use organic eggs. I use Himalayan salt. And then I use a little organic oil, and then organic milk. You mix it up, and then, of course, you put it into a container and you put it in the oven and you cook it. So that's your organic cornbread to start making your stuffing. I don't know if you like, some people put white bread in it or wheat bread in their stuffing, but I usually just use the cornbread itself. All right, so now we have the cornbread. What else is going to go into the stuffings? Okay, who likes onions? All right, so you get the organic onions. Are you going to get the sweet onions, the yellow onions, the white onions, the red onions? It's up to you. Whatever, the flavor that you like and the onion type that you like, then you can use it. But let me give you a hint and a tip. But wait, I'll wait a little bit in a minute to do that. Who put peppers in the stuffing? I know I do. I put the yellow peppers, the orange peppers, and the red peppers, but I cut them up finely. I cut the peppers and the onions and mix them together, and then I saute them on the stove. They're already pre-cooked. They're not raw onions going in with the cornbread. They're pre-cooked. All right. So what else do you put in your dressing? Okay. Do you put a raw egg in the dressing? Okay. Some people do, some people don't. But instead of a raw egg in the dressing, I really boiled my eggs, and I chop up boiled eggs and put them in the dressing. And you might say, why you do that? It makes the dressing very, very fluffy and moist. So you could try that, either raw or you can do the boiled. It's up to you. And then what about a pinch of salt? And then you use the sage. And do you put poultry season in your dressing? I put just a little to balance it out with the sage. And by the time you toss all that together and mix it up, it's delicious. Just sample it, taste it. And some of you might want pepper in your dressing. You're welcome to have white pepper or black pepper, whichever one works for you. I either use Himalayan salt, or you might use kosher salt, or you could use sea salt. I don't use just regular table salt because I'm allergic to regular table salt because it does many times have preservatives in it. All right, so now we've got this dressing that we've made, and you got the broth that you're using. But let's talk about the broth. How did you create your broth? Did you boil, chicken legs or turkey legs? Or did you bake the turkey and you have the broth from the turkey? That's some good broth, and it's nice and seasoned. And you can use that in order to have the moisture for the dressing. And then now we've prepared the dressing and it's ready to go. Now, are you stuffing the turkey with the dressing, or are you cooking the dressing by itself in another container, another dish, a baking dish? I always cook it in another baking dish, only because I'm the kind of person, I'm afraid that if I undercook the dressing, that's not a good thing. You don't want dressing undercooked inside your turkey breast. But it's up to you how you decide you want to do it. I prefer to have it in a baking sheet because I like for it to get nice and crisp and crusty on the bottom and the edges. So this is the way I do it. But you know what? We have options, and we can do it the way you can do it the way you want to do it. So now let's set our dressing to the side. And now we have organic dressing because we put all organic ingredients in the dressing. What about your turkey? Where did you get the turkey from? What type of turkey did you purchase? How large is the turkey? And how long should you let the turkey cook? And did you thaw the turkey properly? Unthaw it properly. All right. So now that we're going to assume that you already got the turkey unthawed and now you're washing it and you're preparing it. How are you preparing that turkey? Did you purchase an organic turkey? And what did you pay attention to the ingredients that went into the turkey? Because sometimes I tell you that it has additional fluid in the turkey and what type of fluids that they, was able to encase, put inside that turkey when you purchase it. Make sure you look on the turkey and read the ingredients as to what is in that turkey before you cook it so you know. And also how many pounds it is. Because when you're ready to cook the turkey, it's important that you know the size so that you know how long to cook the turkey. All right. So now we got the turkey and it's organic. We're just going to say we've purchased an organic turkey. So now we have an organic turkey and we have organic dressing prepared. What about your macaroni and cheese? Who's a macaroni and cheese around here? Are you the one that they say, Auntie, you bring the macaroni and cheese to the Thanksgiving dinner? And there you have that big old container of macaroni and cheese. Well, how did you prepare the macaroni and cheese to keep it on a healthy side? That's right, make sure that it's healthy. Exchange ingredients. Last time I mentioned the fact that I'm allergic to wheat noodles. So instead of wheat noodles for my macaroni and cheese, I use brown rice noodles. That's right, brown rice noodles. And they have the brown rice noodles that looks just elbow macaroni. And you can cook it and it tells you how to cook it on the package. But I always say undercook it just a smidget because once you put it in the oven, it's going to cook even more and you don't want it to be smushy. All right. So now we have brown rice organic macaroni. Let's talk about the ingredients that you put into your macaroni and I'll share with you what I put into my macaroni. So write these things down as we're talking. All right. Eggs. Who put eggs in their macaroni? All right. So we both put eggs in the macaroni. But did you get the organic eggs? Did you get the free range eggs? So what type of eggs did you purchase? But we want to make organic macaroni. So now we have the organic brown rice macaroni itself. Now we're going to use organic eggs. You use cheese. What kind of cheese are you using? What kind of cheese did you purchase? Did you purchase the raw cheese? I don't recall seeing anything that says organic cheese per se, but I usually purchase raw cheese, which means it has not been pasteurized. And so that's what I use in my macaroni and cheese is raw cheddar cheese. So now that we have the cheese, you decide what cheese you want to use. Many times people use 4 or 5 different types of cheese, and let me tell you what, they're all delicious. I've had it that way before I became allergic to the preservatives. But now that I have to be very selective on the ingredients that I put in the dish that I'm preparing. So we have the cheese in the macaroni and cheese. We have the eggs, we have the cheese. What about our milk? That's right. Did you purchase the organic milk? Are you using 1%, 2% skim milk? Or what kind of milk are you using? I cannot use the 1% or 2% of skim milk because believe it or not, it still has a form of, Terry James is saying she uses brown rice noodles. Go, Terry. Yes, 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 yes. And there's so many other dishes we can use with those brown rice noodles. I'll give you another hint in a minute. Okay, so you've already put the eggs, and now we're talking about milk. So get organic milk and use organic milk. Of course, we're still going to use our Himalayan salt. And what else do you put in your macaroni and cheese? All right, so you put those ingredients in there, but remember, keep them organic as much as possible. I can't wait to taste this macaroni and cheese. I'm getting hungry already for the Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, so we got noodles, we got eggs, we have cheese, we have milk, and then you want to season it with a little salt. And then whenever I put salt in the dish, I don't know how many of you do this, but my mother taught me this, and I'm sure some of your mothers taught you the same thing, is to sprinkle just a little sugar as well. It gives it that nice balance, that sweet and salty taste, as opposed to being sweet or opposed to being salty. It gives it that little nice blend. We're looking for a balance. And of course, now that you've prepared your macaroni and cheese and you put it all together, now it's time to put it into a baking dish. I know if you're like me, you're going to have that layer of cheese on the top of that macaroni and cheese. I like tons of cheese in the macaroni, plus a layer of cheese on top of the macaroni so that it has that nice golden color once it's done, once you baked it. All right, so sweet potatoes. Okay, so many different ways that you can do sweet potatoes or you can do yams. Do you boil them first or do you just put them in the oven in the skin? I like to put them in the oven in the skin just like they are. But what I do is I put just a little grapeseed oil on the outside of the skin of the potato. And then I wrap it in aluminum foil before I put it on a baking sheet and put it in the oven. And what that does, it allows all that steam as it's baking to stay within the shell and the skin of the potato. Another hint with that, you don't need any sugar on organic potatoes, organic sweet potatoes, or organic yams. They are super sweet. So I would have them without any additional sugar. Put your pat of butter and you'll be just fine when come time for you to have that. But you don't necessarily have to have the whole sweet potato. You can halven the sweet potato, and therefore it helps you to balance those carbs during the Thanksgiving meal. And with the macaroni, have you a nice scoop of macaroni. That's why you only want to have half of the sweet potato. Okay? Are we in agreement? All right. So far we got a nice, but wait a minute. You have a carb because the dressing is a carb, the macaroni is a carb, and the sweet potato is a carb. This is where you have to make some decisions. You have to change it out. So the first plate that you're going to have for the day, because let's face it, we're going to have two plates. There's no way around it. But the first plate that you're going to have, do maybe the dressing and maybe the macaroni, or do the dressing and maybe the yam. But you don't need to do all three. Or if you do all three, you're going to have to control the portion size. You're going to have maybe a tablespoon of each. What you don't want to happen is you don't want to overload the pancreas. Because if you overload the pancreas, it has to work so hard to produce the insulin in order to convert what you just ate into energy. And so that's why I say take a little scoop. Know how many carb servings you can have at each meal to keep your glucose level normal. And you want it somewhere between a 90 and no more than 160 after you've eaten. It shouldn't go up any higher than 160 an hour to an hour and a half after you have actually eaten your meal. So now we talked about the carb side of the meal. What about the vegetables? How many of you cooking green beans? Okay. All right. Excellent. 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 Okay. Are you doing fresh green beans, frozen green beans, or canned green beans? Of those three, which two should you actually use? I think I hear it. Right. Fresh or frozen. Let's steer away from the canned green beans. And you might say, why? The why in it is because of the extra sodium. Read the ingredients. Always read your ingredients on anything you're going to ingest. Read the ingredients so you know what you're intaking into the body. So if your body should react to it, you have an idea on what you just ate. Fresh green beans or frozen green beans. Frozen does not have any preservatives. They don't usually put any additional ingredients or seasonings in it. And the same thing with fresh. Fresh, you can do the organic green beans. If they're not organic, then just pay attention to where you purchase them from and find out if they use any pesticide or insecticide on the green beans, because it will affect you. Yes, I see somebody using fresh green beans. Do you remember? I remember as a little girl. Listen, this brings so many memories back to me. As a little girl, I remember sitting in the living room with my mother, and she had this bushel of green beans. I don't know if you all like I am. I came from the country, and then and we had the green beans we had to go get out of the garden, and then here we are pulling the streams off of it, and we're plucking them, plucking them, plucking them, plucking them until we get all the green beans completed, and then that's what my mom used for the meal. And so they just brought back another childhood memory of mine. But fresh green beans are awesome. But when you're cooking the green beans, let's talk about that for a moment. What seasoning are you using in the green beans? So share with me some seasonings that you use in your green beans. I know I use the Himalayan salt as one of them. I put a little pinch of sugar in it. But do you season them with a meat? Do you season them with like sometimes some people use smoked turkey necks, smoked turkey legs, or ham or bacon? What is it that you're seasoning your green beans with? But believe it or not, I've cooked green beans with no meat in it whatsoever. I use the seasonings in order to give it flavor. That's right. So there's so many different seasonings that you have in your cabinet that you can use, or your pantry that you can use in order to season your green beans and not have that added cholesterol or added fat or added sodium to the vegetable itself, because you need that vegetable be as crisp and a nutrient as it possibly can. And you don't want to cook those green beans for 4 or 5 hours either. It does not take them that long to cook. You want them to be a nice, tender, but not mushy. And you don't want them to be crisp either, because then you're crunchy, because then you're not going to want to eat them. So the other thing with green beans is that when I grew up, we used to put potatoes in our green beans, or sometimes we would put corn in the green beans. Oh man, I'm getting a little homesick from being when I was 13, 14, and 15. Well, of course, I found out later on that's a vegetable and a starchy vegetable at the same time. You got the green beans and you got a corn, and the corn is a starchy vegetable, and so is a potato. Potato is a starchy vegetable. And so it's okay as long as that's all you having. But if you're having all these other starches that go along with it, I mean, I could get by with it as a little girl, because I mean, I was running and dancing and playing and ball and all of that. But now, as an adult, hey, your body settles down, your metabolism does not work as fast, and before you know it, you're putting on the pounds and the inches. So that's not what we want. We want to be able to maintain our glucose levels. That's right. And so we have these green beans. But what about greens? Do you like collards? Do you like kale? Do you like mustard? Do you like turnips? So there's so many different greens that you can use. But again, are they organic? Are they fresh? Are they frozen? Are they out of a can? So you want to try to get fresh or frozen as much as possible. So no matter what vegetable you decide to use. Or you could do a cabbage. They have the red cabbage, the regular green cabbage. So there's different ways you can prepare the cabbage. And that's a nice green vegetable. Or you could have just a salad, a leafy green salad, so you can have that in its place as a vegetable. But notice I'm adding vegetables to the meal because we did the carbs. Now we're talking about the vegetable side of the meal. And we're talking about how to exchange in order to keep it healthy for you. And you can have as much as those vegetables as you want. You control the carb serving, but the vegetables is what will fill you up because it's a fiber. It's a fiber. And so it's going to make you feel full faster. So just know that. All right. So we have the vegetables. All right. So we got the carb. We have the vegetables. But what about, and then a meat? We talked about the turkey. I mean, some of you might want a ham, you might want a duck, you might want venison. So there are so many different type of meats that you can have. But the most important thing is make sure that with the meat that you're going to purchase, that I purchased turkey. I'm going to go with the turkey. But the other meats that you decide that you're going to purchase, make sure that you're able to get that fat away from you. You're getting the most lean part of the meat that you possibly can get. And then that way it keeps the cholesterol levels down as well. All right. So we got the meat, we have the protein, we have the carb, and we have the vegetable. What about our fruit? How are we going to get this fruit? Are we going to get this fruit in dessert? Are we going to eat fresh fruit? Frozen fruit? Are we going to eat baked fruit? And that baked fruit, I'm talking about what? Baked apple pie. That's right, a baked apple pie. And so when you bake that apple pie, how did you prepare the crust? Did you prepare the crust from scratch? It doesn't take long to prepare the crust from scratch. And did you use the organic, or did you use unbleached flour? Did you use organic milk? Did you use organic butter? So you can still do the crust and it can be organic. And what about the apples? The apples too can be organic. Did you, opposed to having the apples out of a can, then purchase the apples? Yes, you have to peel them and then cut them up and then toss them in a little cinnamon and a little sugar and then your flavorings and all of that. Toss them together before you put them in the pie plate, and then you put your little topping on it with your little spat of butter. But the butter, okay, did you purchase organic butter? And then put the organic butter in it and then bake it. So now you have your fruit, but it's baked, but it too has a carb because you put a little sugar in it. The apples have sugar in it, and then you have the flour, and then the crust is a carb, and it converts into sugar. So you have to see, have you noticed all these things that will convert into sugar and then it's going right into your bloodstream? So when you start thinking about all the things that you're eating and how it is sugar without it being defined as pure sugar, because the dressing has the cornbread in it, and bread is going to convert into sugar in the body. The macaroni is going to convert into sugar in the body. Although it's organic and although it's brown rice noodles, it's still going to convert into sugar once you eat it and digest it, and then it goes into the bloodstream as sugar. And meat will not, unless you put some sugar on the meat. But majority of the time, we don't usually do that. I don't, but I'm not sure how you cook yours. I'm not going to say you don't, but I'm just saying there's something to think about. And then we have, of course, the dessert. But if you even decide to have fresh fruit and make a fresh fruit salad, keep in mind it's still sugar and it will convert into sugar in the body. Last week we talked about, 2 weeks ago, we talked about combination of foods. And that's why I wanted to talk about the combination of foods, is because a protein and a vegetable is what you want, or a carb and a vegetable is what you want, or a fruit and a vegetable is what you want, or a fruit and a protein you can have. But what you don't want to have is a protein and a carb together. That takes the body longer to break that protein down. And in the meantime, that carb that you ate was converted into sugar and is circulating into your bloodstream. All right. So has this been helpful? How has this been helpful? Tell me ways that you are preparing some of your meals. How are you preparing the macaroni and cheese? Oh yes, somebody liking sweet potatoes, and they do the fresh greens. Look at Miss Terry James. Okay, I see you. All right, Coco. Yes, she said I like those sweet potatoes. I can't wait for you all to tell me that when you tried a organic sweet potato versus your regular sweet potato, what was the flavoring to it? How did it taste? Was it sweeter? Did you have to add any sugar to it when you added your little cinnamon and your pat of butter? Yes, listen, you all are making me hungry for this Thanksgiving. I'm making myself hungry for this Thanksgiving dinner already. But I wanted to talk about how to prepare meals because it's so critical with Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. And when you go to your family and friend houses, and everybody, if you go, everybody's going to want you to pull a chair up to the table, put your feet under the table, and feast with them. But it's nothing wrong with it. You can do it because listen, some of the tips and the strategies you have to plan. And one of the things you can plan is, what am I going to eat at home before I leave? That I'm not hungry, I'm not starving when I get where I'm going, and therefore I'm not have the tendency to overeat. And then when you do eat, have a small portion of what it is that they're offering you. You don't have to have a full serving, especially if you know you're going to do a round robin. Now, who all knows what that round robin is? Put round robin in the comment box if you know what round robin is. Now, to me, round robin is you're going to be going to several of the friends' house, your family house, your brother, your sister's house, all in that same day. You're going to be making your rounds, and then you're going to be engaging and indulging in some of those cuisines that they have prepared. And you have to taste. You go to your mama's house, she's going to want you to eat. And so when you taste, then that's just it. Taste. Don't get a full serving of it. And the other tip is prepare a meal for home. So once you come back home, you have your own leftovers. It's nothing wrong with taking leftovers from auntie's house or mama's house or my cousin's house, my brother's house, but it's nothing like having your own meal at home as well. So that's just a tip. All right, let me see if I have any questions out here. Come on now, ask me some questions. I love to cook. I absolutely love to cook. And then I love exchanging items for the different substitute foods, substitute ingredients, and make it your own. It doesn't have to be, it is traditional because it's traditional because you made it, not because society told you it was traditional, but it's traditional based on what you enjoy doing. All right, so we got Thanksgiving out of the way. That's just I know I have not touched on everything that you're gonna be having for Thanksgiving dinner, but one of the other things you could do is a soup. Who tries making soups? I love going to this one particular restaurant for their broccoli, and cheese soup. Oh my gracious, I love it. But I can't really eat it because of the ingredients. And I've had a reaction to it, so I have to steer away from it. But I decided I was going to make my own. That's right. I was going to make my own soup. So I cooked the broccoli, got the organic broccoli and got it nice and mushy and everything, put it over in the blender. I got my organic cheese, put it over in the blender, and make sure it was well melted. Got my little organic milk, put it over in the blender, put my little seasonings in it. And I made my own cheese and broccoli soup. So these are some of the things that you can do for yourself because you can control the ingredients. You can control the portion size and you can control how much you're going to eat and how much you're not going to eat, and then you can store it. And don't be afraid to freeze some of these items that you're preparing. But when you freeze them, make sure you freeze them in what we call portion control sizes. So that way, when you unfreeze it and you get ready to prepare it for a meal, it's already in a portion size for you. Or if you're on the go and you need to grab something out of the freezer, it's already divided according to the way that is a portion control for you. All right. So what about how often do we eat? I mentioned to you that one of the things that I did for myself in order to take control of my diabetes was to eat every 3 hours. Every 3 hours. You're like Maxie, wait. That seems very excessive. Well, I would eat at 9 o'clock for breakfast. I would eat at 12 o'clock for lunch. Then I would eat at 3 o'clock. I would eat at 6 o'clock. And believe it or not, if I felt I was hungry, I would have a nice little snack at 9 o'clock at night. Now, the reason why it worked for me is because I was never hungry and I was never full. I was able to maintain my glucose levels and kept them balanced. Because I never overate and it went too high, or I never waited too long and they dropped too low. And that's the way that you're able to maintain a level glucose. And that's what you want. You want to level it out. All right. So if I ate every 3 hours, what were some of the things that I ate? Well, you could eat yogurt with a fruit in it. You could eat cheese, maybe with some peanut butter on it. And if you decide you want to have a cracker, you could have a little small salad with 1 or 2 crackers. So there's a way that you don't have to have a whole meal. Now, one of those 3 hours, I ate a meal. It could have been the 3 o'clock I ate a meal, or it could have been my 6 o'clock that I ate a meal. But I ate a meal, but then the whole thing of it is I ate a balanced meal. And that's where you're going to have half of your plate with vegetables, a fourth of the plate with a carb, and the other fourth of the plate with a protein. You want to balance it out because that protein and that vegetable is going to help encase that carb in it. And as the carbs are breaking down, they're not going straight into the bloodstream as sugar, right? We got the vegetable and we have the protein That's a part of that breakdown in the body. The body is using that food that you just took in, and it's not forcing the pancreas to overwork in order to get that insulin working for you and converting the food that you've eaten into energy. How is this helping? I know I've been going on and on and on and on and on. I feel like I'm ready to go downstairs and have a have a dish, have something to eat right now. So, who have questions? Type your questions in there and let me know if you have a question. It's so important that plan as you're going through the holidays on what meal plan you're going to have, because many of you are going to be home. I know I'm going to be home, and I don't want to find myself every, snacking all day long. But if I know that I'm going to be eating every 3 hours, that is a snack almost. And I can control what it is that I'm going to eat. Let me help you with a tip. I like ice cream, but I know I cannot have ice cream because it has the milk. It could have a lot of sugar in it. It's going to convert into carbs. And I prefer to have a meal opposed to just having ice cream. So this is what I do. I freeze the fresh fruit. You can freeze your fresh strawberries, your grapes, you can your cantaloupe, you can freeze all these different type of fruits. And then once I take them out, I put it in the blender. I put it in a blender, and I add maybe just a little vanilla flavor to it. I might add just a little honey to it, or I might add a little organic maple syrup to it, and then I'll blend it. And what do you think I end up with? I end up with a sherbet or sorbet. And that is my little treat for me. That's a treat for me. And it gives me that little kick when I feel like I need some a little sugar. I'm not going to say I've given sugar up totally, but what I've done is I've reduced the intake of sugar, because sugar does cause a lot of inflammation, and inflammation can lead to a lot of illnesses. So that's one thing I do as a little snack if I want a snack. The other thing that I do as a snack is I'll do walnuts, organic or raw walnuts, and then I'll do sometime the semi-chocolate little morsels that you put in the chocolate chip cookies. I know I count them out. I count them out on how many I can have. I look on the back of the package and tell me how many will equal one carb serving, and I count those 10 or 11 morsels out, and then I have me a whole handful of the nuts, and that's a little treat for me. I get the little sugar fix that I need, and I've got a protein, which are the nuts. And I mean, the walnuts are just excellent for your health. The almonds are good. We have the pecans or the pecans or pecans, however you pronounce it, but those are good for you. And it depends on, I always say depend on your blood type as to what you need to be ingesting and you need to be eating as part of your meal. So go ahead and also look up Eat for Your Blood Type, because that's a very good book to have in hand. And there's a lot of great information on the internet about it. And you don't necessarily have to go out and purchase the book. There's so much great information out on the internet. Just download it and save it. Find out what your blood type is and look at what foods you should be having that cause you to gain weight for your blood type, what foods are neutral, and then what foods are most beneficial for you. And that's to help your body, to help you to maintain a healthy body. I trust that this information has been really, really good. But you got Thanksgiving coming up this week. I know you're going to be safe. I know you're going to be visiting family and friends, or talking to them, or have a Zoom conference call so that you can talk about what you're thankful for. I know I'm thankful just to be alive, because back in 2008, when I was diagnosed as this, type 2 diabetic, I was going through some problems. I mean, being blind, almost blind. My A1C was so high, I could have been hospitalized. I could have gone into a diabetic coma, and then, being allergic to all these preservatives. I went into, my health was declining very fast, and they did not know what was wrong with me. But I journaled in order to understand what the impact of the foods that I was eating, what impact it had on my body. And I would encourage you to journal during this holiday. Journal about what you're thankful for. Journal about the memories that you have about you and your family. Journal about even preparing your meals, versus, you journal now on your anticipation then journal the day of Thanksgiving, and then journal the day after Thanksgiving so that you can see that comparison, because life is too short and it's meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to enjoy every day as you possibly can. But as you go into the Christmas holiday, I'll be back and we'll be talking about some Christmas meals as well as New Year's, and starting the new year out for 2022. I don't believe in New Year resolutions. I'm not sure about you, but it's just whatever you believe in. But I believe in New Year's, what's the context of what you have written? The things, your aspirations that you have, the visions that you have for yourself, where you see yourself going, doing, and being in 2022. And now is the time to start even reflecting on 2021. What have you done during 2021? This is a season to be thankful. So, what have you done to impact or impart your wisdom to another person? How are you leaving your legacy? I always say that birth date versus the day that you leave this earth is the dash that counts, because that dash is who you are. That dash is what you've done. That dash is the impact that you've made. That dash is, are you helping another person or is it just me? And even in Thanksgiving, let's all be thankful for what we have been given. Let's be thankful in how we've helped others. Let's be thankful in how others have helped us. I know with diabetes, and this being Diabetes Month, I'm thankful to be able to sit before you today and talk about type 2 diabetes. I know there's a workshop that I'm going to be offering. It's called Kicking Diabetes in the ASS. And that's what we need to do. We need to kick it in the ASS. And that A stands for accountability. Be accountable for what you're doing. Be accountable for the foods that you're intaking. Be accountable for reading the ingredients. Be accountable for making the food exchanges and cooking healthier foods. Yes, I know that everybody talks about it costs so much to cook healthy. But let me tell you, it costs 10 times more when you don't cook healthy, because you end up spending all that extra money on medication, doctor's visits, specialists, hospitalization, and it could even cost us our life. So therefore, take the time and go and invest now while you can on converting the foods to organic or as healthy as you possibly can. That's what the A stands for, accountability. The S stands for strategies. Put a strategy in place that works for you. The strategy that I have in place that works for me, I'm sharing it with you. But you have to decide of what I'm sharing with you, what works for you. What can you take and internalize and then repurpose it and reuse it? And sometimes it's a trial. You try, oh, well, Maxine said I can try Himalayan salt. Okay, oh, I did the Himalayan salt, but that didn't work for me. Let me try the kosher salt. And you might find out that the kosher salt is better for you. So that's what you have to do. But the thing about it is put a strategy in place. Write down what it is that you want to do. I'm not saying write down a goal that you want is that you're going to lose 50 pounds. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Because I do not believe in diets. But what I do believe is in lifestyle changes. I believe in taking one small step at a time. And that one small step could be journaling what you're eating. That one small step could be writing the ingredients down of what you put in the foods. That one small step could be calling Maxine and talking about her working with you one on one as an accountability coach for type 2 diabetes. That one step could be that you're going to the internet and you're looking up eat for your blood type so you know your blood type, or you ask your doctor to type your blood. You need to know that anyway for an emergency situation. So these are strategies that you can put in place. These are lifestyle changes, which is a part of your life. It's longevity. It helps you to continue to have that quality of life. And then you have systems, accountability, strategies, systems, and support. So with the Kicking Diabetes in the ASS, we will have a support group. You can become a part of the support group so that you have other like-minded individuals who are going through what you're going through, so that you know you're not going through it alone. There's nothing in this world you need to do by yourself. We know you don't even come into this world by yourself. You have your mother there. You have the doctors there waiting on you. So you don't even come into this world by yourself. So Why live on this earth and be by yourself when there's a situation and you have other people who can support you? Yes. So Miss Terry Jane said, yes, that's something to think about. And so, with this kicking diabetes in the ASS, you have an opportunity to work with me as your accountability coach. That's right. Someone who's gone through it, someone who's been a caretaker for a type 2 diabetic, someone who's lost loved ones to diabetes, and someone who's walked and been a part of the American Diabetes Association, that I was a part of them for 7 years. Won leadership awards, won top team awards, but it's not about winning an award. It's not about that. It's about saving lives. It's about living a fulfilled life. It's about helping others to continue to advance in their life. It's about preventing amputations. It's about preventing individuals from having to go on dialysis. It's about preventing individuals from becoming blind. That's what this is all about. That's one of the reasons why I'm an advocate for diabetes. If I hadn't had it and experienced it for myself and had loved ones to lose their life because of it, I probably wouldn't be as involved. No. But once something like this impacts you, it has impacted me for life. And that's one of the reasons why you're looking at these pictures in the background, the step out walk. Here's my mother right there in the center of that very first picture with the blue outfit on. That she died at 86 due to complications with her kidneys. And then we have other ones over here that my sister, Jackie, who participated in one of the walks, she ended up dying with kidney disease. And then my baby sister, who participated in a walk, she ended up having a stroke to the center of her brain. We don't know if she was a type 2 diabetic or not. Because, see, diabetes is just like that. It's a silent killer. It's a silent killer. So I will be posting a link to take the test to see if you could be possibility of having diabetes. If you've not yet gone to your doctor to have your blood typed or to have a physical to make sure that your glucose levels are within range. And these are just a few questions that the American Diabetes Association asks you. And it's just a precautionary. And if you answer it and it says the probability is high, then go on, seek a medical profession and have it validated. Have them to do your A1C. And the A1C is your average glucose level within a 2 to 3 month period. How high or how low has your glucose levels been in the body? It's an average. That's what the A stands for, average. We already know we're talking about type 1 diabetic, which means the body doesn't produce any insulin. Type 2, the body could produce an insulin, but maybe not enough. And I always say it could be producing insulin. It could be producing enough insulin, but you could be overloading the pancreas with too much carbs and too much sugar in the body. So the body cannot produce enough insulin fast. The pancreas cannot produce enough insulin fast enough for you because of the overload. And that's why I ate every 3 hours, because I never wanted to overload the pancreas. And you too, that's something else that you can do as well. And the other thing is make sure that you get your physicals. Know what not only your A1C, but your cholesterol. Yes, know what your calcium levels are. Know what your vitamin D is. Vitamin D affects your heart. So you need the potassium and you need the magnesium, you need the vitamin D. So all these things you need in the body, but you don't need to overload the body with any of them. You need to see where you are before you start a regimen, and always check with your medical professions. Always check with your doctor. Let them know what you're getting ready to do. Any lifestyle change you're getting ready to make, go on and have a conversation. Oh, I see Manette is here. Thank you, Manette. Yes, 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 yes. I miss you, lady. We need to get together and talk. And she says, very informative. Thanks for sharing this information. My pleasure. My pleasure. I enjoy being able to, God has gifted me that when I became a type 2 diabetic, that I began doing all of this research. And by doing the research, I'm able to share the information that I've learned. I am not a doctor. I do not profess to be a doctor. I have not gone to school to be a doctor. But what I will tell you is all the things that I'm sharing with you, I personally went through. I've personally experienced. I personally modified my diet. I personally cook foods. I make my own salad dressings. I cook everything from scratch. That's right. Everything from scratch. I use as many organic ingredients that I possibly can find. You too can do the same. I went from a $12,000 a year medical expenses to now I don't even meet my deductible in a year, which is I think $183 deductible because I don't have to go to the doctor as often because of the way that I made the lifestyle changes. So in the coming weeks, as I do this life strategies, I'll be talking to you about other different things that I've done when it comes to type 2 and reversing the type 2. I'm pre-diabetic. I've been able to maintain that for the last 7 years. So all I can do is share with you what has worked for me. And I say to you, modify it. Take the information that I'm sharing with you, write it down, have a discussion with your doctor, and then you all decide what's going to work best for you. But I guarantee you that if you come to this workshop and you go through the program Kicking Diabetes in the ASS, I guarantee you that the lifestyle changes that you make is going to be a lifestyle change that your doctor will approve. The doctors have approved every single person that has gone through what I'm sharing with you. I've even spoken at some of the health fairs for well known medical professions, medical conferences, sharing the same information. That's what we must do for one another. We must share information and not keep it to ourselves. So, as I get ready to start closing, I want to see, are there any questions, any comments? What are you going to do different? What are you going to do different for your Thanksgiving dinner? What are you going to try? Be sure to send me a picture of what you cooked and also a little mini recipe on what it is, because I like to share it on my social media handles and now on my website. So be sure to share it with me. Send it to Maxine at GAMM. No, send it to Maxine at ourdiabetescoach.com. Maxine at diabetescoach.com. That's where you send it to, and I'll start posting some of the pictures that you share with me. I'm looking forward. I can't be at the table with you, but I can look at the pictures and wish I was there with you and just think about and imagine what it tastes like. But you'll have to describe to me how the family enjoyed it. I can't wait to hear from you and all this great information that you're going to be doing. So next week, the 29th, on the show, I am going to be having my sister. My big sis is coming to Life Strategies. My big sis, Alberta Thompson, is going to be my guest on the Life Strategies show. I'm so excited. She is turning 70, and I am going to be having her little virtual gathering on my show. My family and friends are going to be here to show her the love, 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 love. Anybody turning that milestone of 70, listen, anybody having a birthday or anybody living every day is worth celebrating because life is too short. Where the world has gone and all this unpredictable, the health situation and crisis in the world since 2019. Hey, listen, we need to enjoy and we need to let each other know how much we love them. So we are getting ready to close down for the night, for this week anyway. But I have truly enjoyed being here. I trust that I've said something that you're able to take away and you're able to implement and you're able to maintain those glucose levels during this Thanksgiving holiday. As Christmas approach, we'll start talking about some additional tips and techniques in which you can use. So in the meantime, I believe in you. I trust you believe in yourself. I want you to meet me back here next week at the same time. Enjoy the birthday gathering with me. Have a great evening. This is Maxine Phillips McKoy, the Levelist Woman, hosting Life Strategies Show. Good night.